I randomized Pikmin 2 and Paper Mario together, and I have 4 hours to beat the Titan Dweevil and beat Bowser. Let's see if I can pull it off. I started out by playing through the first 2 days of Pikmin 2. In order to unlock the final area and beat the final boss, I needed to collect 10,000 Pokos worth of treasure, as well as collect the Spherical Atlas and Geographic Projection, which unlock the game's other areas. There are 5 treasures I could access at this point in the game, and while one of them was Paper Mario's warehouse key, the rest were basically useless. There was nothing else I could do until I unlocked a new area, so I moved to Paper Mario. In Paper Mario, I immediately bought all of the Pikmin 2 items in the shop, as well as this castle key. I wasn't quite sure if the key would be used yet, since I only had to save 3 of the 7 star spirits in order to access Bowser's castle, but I figured it could be useful later. I also started with Parakarry, Watt, and Sushi, so I decided to grab the checks in the water here, but there was nothing useful. Shy Guy's toy box was open, so I went there next. There were a few Pikmin 2 items that I grabbed, and I noted that there was a fortress key that this Shy Guy was holding. The chapter difficulties are all swapped around, and this chapter had either chapter 6 or 7's difficulty, so I wasn't yet able to beat the Shy Guy to get the key. Anyway, we didn't have the toy train yet, so I couldn't further progress here, and I just went back to Toad Town. I next decided to take a walk down Goomba Road. There weren't many useful items until I got to this spring and grabbed the Pulse Stone. I then grabbed one of the best badges in the game and headed to Shooting Star Summit. Here, you can trade star pieces for items, and you also get rewards for spending certain amounts of star pieces. The actual items being sold weren't great, but the rewards were fantastic, having 2 of the Dry Ruin stones and a letter that I could eventually deliver to get an item. I didn't have enough star pieces to get all of these yet, I needed 20, but I would be back here later. I next decided to explore the Pleasant Path area. Apart from the few Pikmin 2 items, the only useful item was the Star Stone, which helps us access Chapter 7. I also did the entire Fuzzy minigame to get Cooper's Shell, but it was a complete waste of time. It had already been almost an hour, and I hadn't really found many useful items, so I was getting a little concerned. But there were still plenty of areas I hadn't checked yet. They just weren't really areas I wanted to explore. At this point, I could go to either the desert, the forest, or the jungle. The desert was the most time-consuming, but it also had the most checks by far, so I decided to go there first. This guy on the mountain gave me a seed that looked suspiciously like a key, and I also found the super hammer just lying on the ground collecting dust. There was also an actual seed here, and I got a little bit worried. You see, collecting all 4 seeds allows us to access flower fields, and I didn't really want to go there because it tends to take a lot of time to complete. Anyway, I entered the desert and grabbed all the checks I could, which was most of them. After about 15 minutes of searching, I got 2 Ruins keys, Localester, and a Parakarry upgrade. The Ruins keys were exciting, especially because I already knew where 2 of the stones were, Localester was a new movement option, and the Parakarry upgrade would actually be useful later in the run. Since I now had enough star pieces to get the stones, I ran and grabbed those, and then made my way through the sewer since I could now get most of the checks there. The most useful thing I found is actually the other Parakarry upgrade. You see, all of the partners' move FP costs have been randomized, and unfortunately all of the base moves cost 5 or more FP. But when I checked Parakarry's Ultra Rank move, something amazing happened. That's right, this move, which does 6 damage to all enemies, only costs 1 FP. I can now easily get experience from the enemies in the desert, and I made my way to the ruins to see how far I could get. Unfortunately, this was another waste of time, and with almost an hour and a half of my time gone, I started to get worried again. I really needed more key items soon if I was going to beat this in less than 4 hours. Anyway, I next headed to the jungle and decided to save all of the Yoshi kids first. If you've been following the pattern, you'll have already realized that this was yet another waste of time, as the jungle had literally no useful items whatsoever. However, As I was about to leave the area, I walked into the Yoshi Village shop and saw the most incredible sight. No, not the dictionary, the item next to the dictionary. The Spherical Atlas unlocks Pikmin 2's Awakening Wood, which has multiple accessible treasures, caves, and most importantly, white and blue Pikmin. Suddenly, with only 2 hours and 25 minutes left, the run looked possible if I played really quickly. Before I explored the Awakening Wood though, I decided to stay in Paper Mario for a bit longer and explore the forest. There are only 3 or so checks I could get here, and I figured it wouldn't take too long to grab them. And let me tell you, I'm so glad that I did this, because one of those 3 checks was the Geographic Projection, which unlocks Pikmin 2's Perplexing Pool. With both areas unlocked, all I needed to do was repay the 10,000 Poco debt to get to the final area, and I was pretty sure I'd collected enough treasure in Paper Mario to do this. I entered the Valley of Repose and ran to the Emergence Cave to get 10 more purple Pikmin, since I needed a total of 20 to unlock white Pikmin. I would need all the Pikmin types to access the final cave and beat the Titan Dweevil. The items from Paper Mario finally finished loading in, and the game registered that the debt was repaid. After watching a few cutscenes, I loaded into Awakening Wood, and the game crashed. I loaded back in and unlocked white Pikmin, then immediately ended the day. I next went to the Perplexing Pool to unlock the yellow Pikmin. I needed about 60 to beat the final boss, so I used the nearby pellets and enemy corpses to raise that many. Over half my time was gone at this point, so I had to continue to play very fast, but fortunately I had picked up the Pluckaphone at some point, so I was able to pluck Pikmin quickly using my whistle. Once I had enough yellow Pikmin, I headed back to the Awakening Wood to unlock the blue Pikmin, the final type. I raised about 30 of them, along with some more yellow Pikmin, and then I ended the day and headed to the Wistful Wild, the game's final area. My main goal in the Wistful Wild was to get to the Dream Den. To do this, I needed to build this bridge with blue Pikmin, break down this wall with the white Pikmin, and then get all the yellow Pikmin safely into the cave. And this is when everything went to shit really fast. Let me introduce you to one of the worst enemies in Pikmin 2, the Gatling Groink. It continually shoots projectiles at Pikmin, killing them instantly. It's especially effective at killing Pikmin that are grouped up, if they're doing a task like building a bridge, or breaking a wall, for example. And, lucky for me, there's one right where I need to build a bridge and break down a wall. I tried to sneak the blue Pikmin around it to start building the bridge and distract it with my other captain, but this failed miserably and it started locking onto my Pikmin. It killed 18 of my 28 blue Pikmin before getting bored and targeting my captains instead. The 10 remaining blue Pikmin continued building the bridge, and I took out the Gatling Groink with my captains. Oh my god, what is it doing now? Yeah, so there's one thing I didn't mention about Gatling Groinks. They can respawn if you don't bring them back to base. And I couldn't bring this one back to base because I didn't have the bridge built yet. So, inevitably, it respawned. Fortunately, I had it distracted, and I actually managed to get it to take out one of the gas pipes on this wall. I grabbed my purple and white Pikmin, finished the bridge, and then killed the Groink again using my purple Pikmin this time. I tried to throw all my Pikmin on the wall since one of the gas pipes was broken, but they still managed to walk into the other gas pipe and started to die. Eventually though, the wall broke down, but the Groink respawned again. Worse, I spent so long building the bridge that the day was about to end. I rushed into the Dream Den, but 30 of my Pikmin decided to fight a random Bulborb without me noticing, and they didn't come with me into the cave. So I only had 40 yellow Pikmin to beat the Titan Dweevil. The Dream Den has 14 sublevels, but I could safely ignore the first 13. I rushed down as fast as possible, and the only notable incident happened on floor 12, where this poison Pikmin decided to wake up a Bulborb and killed itself and these 2 other Pikmin, and left me with only 37 for the boss. Fortunately, the Titan Dweevil absolutely threw this fight. It went for the electric attack twice, which my Pikmin are immune to, allowing me to knock off its flamethrower before it even got a chance to use it. I then easily knocked off the Comedy Bomb and the Pump, and then it no longer had anything it could use to kill me. Once I defeated it, I collected Louie, beating the game and releasing all the Paper Mario items. With about an hour left in the run, I was hoping that beating Pikmin 2 had given me the items I needed to beat Paper Mario quickly. I'd gotten the mailbag, so I first went to turn that in, and I was rewarded with the Crystal Palace key. I also got the Pyramid Stone and another Ruins key, so I went to Chapter 2 next. While there are 4 ruins keys in total, you only actually need 3 to get to the final boss as long as you have the 3 stones. I beat Toot and Koopa easily, and also noticed that I now had Cooper, Bombette, the Super Boots, and the Ultra Hammer, which all allowed me access to new areas. After defeating Toot and Koopa, I decided to deliver the many letters I'd received. The only useful item I got from this was a fortress key. I headed to Shiver City next, and on the way I found the scarf. All I needed to beat this chapter was the bucket. And, after buying this fortress key and beating Junior Troopa, I saw it. Sitting on the ground, behind an iceberg, cast aside, underappreciated, unloved, and completely forgotten. The bucket. I made my way through Shiver Mountain and the Crystal Palace as fast as I could, ignoring most of the checks along the way. I got to the boss, the Crystal King, with about 15 minutes to spare. At this point, I knew that I wouldn't beat the run in 4 hours, but I wanted to still try and win as fast as I could. I defeated the Crystal King in only 5 minutes, leaving me with under 10 minutes to beat a 3rd chapter and defeat Bowser. At this point, there were a few items I could have found in order to progress. I needed 2 more keys to beat Chapter 1, 2 keys and the Boo's Portrait for Chapter 3, the Toy Train for Chapter 4, the Jade Raven for Chapter 5, and a Magical Seed for Chapter 6. I decided to search the Crystal Palace for one of these items and was immediately rewarded with the 3rd fortress key. Remember all the way at the beginning of the run when I went to Shy Guy's toy box? Fortunately, so did I, and I went back to grab the final fortress key. With only 5 minutes remaining, I rushed through the fortress as fast as I could, but it wasn't enough, and my time ran out right before the end. At this point, I set the timer to count up for the rest of the run to track how much time over 4 hours I had spent. I easily beat the Koopa Bros, and then went straight to Bowser's Castle. Everything except the bosses are removed, so all I had to do was fight some Duplighosts who were no problem at all. Next was Junior Troopa, who can sometimes be a little difficult. He wound up wasting one of my life shrooms, but I was able to take him out using Watt and Super Smash. After beating Junior Troopa, right before entering Peach's castle, this happened. Look who finally decided to show up. Hallway Bowser went down to Parakarry and Super Smash, and then it was time for Final Bowser. Now, I really should have won this fight easily, but I was ultimately defeated by Bowser's healing mechanic. Bowser only heals when his HP percentage is lower than Mario's, so I tried my best to control that. The problem was I kept healing right to the threshold, and then Crazy Heart would kick in, healing 3 extra HP. Crazy Heart has a random chance to trigger, so it truly just triggered at all the wrong moments. The second time I fought him, I got lucky with the Crazy Heart healing, and Bowser only wound up using one of his heals before being defeated. The run took a total of 4 hours, 36 minutes, and 23 seconds. So, hey, I didn't get it this time, but I'm gonna try again at some point soon. If you want to see that, please subscribe so you don't miss it. Oh, and if you want to play the Pikmin 2 AP World, I actually made that myself, so stay tuned for when I release that. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.